Hey, you clicked on my video. Appreciate it. Now be sure to like the video and subscribe to the page. Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Outta My League. I'm Nick Diaz. In no surprise whatsoever, John Bel Edwards has signed the NIL bill into law for the state of Louisiana. LSU now has a gigantic recruiting advantage in the NIL space. Don't worry, I won't read all the boring bullshit from all the boring political stuff right on the paper word for word. What I will do is give you a scenario to help you better understand. So before this bill was passed into law today, Brian Kelly would walk into recruits' home and say, hey, you should come to LSU because of X, Y, and Z. And that recruit says, all right, cool, but what about NIL deals? Brian Kelly responds, oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to talk about that with you when it comes to NIL. And then that recruit says, well, can anyone else at LSU talk about that with me? No, nobody at LSU is allowed to speak about NIL with you. Well, okay, well, can you point me in the direction of business owners who would love to give me NIL deals? No, actually, nobody, including myself, associated with the university is allowed to even do that. Okay, fine, but let's say that recruit actually does get in touch with a LSU booster or business owner that wants to give them an NIL deal. Well, when that recruit finally gets in touch with that booster and starts negotiating their NIL contract, they discover that there's limitations on the types of contracts and wording that they can actually sign with that booster. And let's say that recruit or LSU player actually does sign the deal with the LSU booster. Guess what? That contract is now public record, which means every single person in the state of Louisiana, every single SEC coach outside of LSU, every single coach in the nation can look up how much that LSU player and recruit is making. Now, let's take that same scenario, but this time with the new law passed by Governor John Bel Edwards. So Brian Kelly goes back into recruit X's home and says, hey, here's the contact info for a booster for an NIL deal. And then Recruit X calls that booster, and that booster tells Recruit X, guess what? There's no limit on the type of contract we can sign together. You want more money up front now? Cool. Or do you want more of a incentive-laden contract for money going forward? We can do whatever you want. This is not the case with many other states, especially in the Southeastern Conference, like, for example, Texas. As a matter of fact, Florida and the state of Alabama just repealed bills that are very similar to this one in Louisiana. Advantage LSU, at least for right now. But see, here's the kicker in all of this. The NIL law in Louisiana will require all contracts with boosters to be confidential. No one except the booster or the players' representatives can know about the details of their NIL deal. That does two things. Number one, let's say Alabama reaches out to Kayshon Boutte and indirectly tries to get him to leave LSU for more NIL money if he comes to play for Alabama. Well, here's the thing. They will now have a hard time trying to get into a bidding war with Kayshon because they don't know what he makes. Or say Texas A&M is trying to get a recruit out of Baton Rouge to try to break his commitment with LSU on signing day because he's got a verbal commitment to, say, an LSU Boosters NIL deal. Not officially signed, but he's got that commitment. Well, the A&M coaches can't ask that recruit about it because that's illegal. And the A&M Boosters, on top of that, they're going to have a hard time trying to figure out what the NIL deal is, getting into a bidding war to make another offer to that recruit. Now, the A&M boosters probably know the market value of a 5-star wide receiver or running back, and they could throw more money at that recruit based on the market value. Sure, but they would be guessing, and also they don't know the details of the contract long term. So even if the A&M booster throws money at this LSU recruit who's already got a deal ready to go with an LSU booster, they may get the dollar amount right in their guesstimation of what he's making from this LSU booster. But from what I have heard is that LSU boosters are starting to put very, very creative language and incentives inside their name, image, and likeness contracts with players. And you know what else this private contract law does for LSU? Nobody on the team knows how much each other is making. In other words, the locker room stays civil. No more Eli Ricks getting pissed off because he found out Derek Stingley Jr. got a bigger NIL deal than him, and he decided, oh shit, I'm going to go to Alabama. No more of that. Now, the players know the starting quarterback is making more money than the backup running back. Sure, okay, they can deduce that. And they can also see who posted a picture of a brand new Cadillac on their Instagram page. Fine. But all of the numbers and details are not public knowledge. Now, it is made very clear in this bill that this is not meant to be pay for play for recruits. That these NIL deals are simply put there to only help the student athlete later in life with business ventures. Sure, in the same way that porn stars are paid for their acting skills. Look, this is the world we're living in, where every single year it's going to be change this NIL bill, amend this NIL bill, over and over and over again, because each state wants to have their own personal advantage. Here's where LSU has their advantage. Well, most importantly, within the state of Louisiana. So if you go over to the state of Alabama, half the legislature is Roll Tide, and the other half is War Eagle. You go to the state of Florida, 1/3 of it is Florida Gators, another third is FSU, and another third is probably the Miami Hurricanes, especially all the representatives who serve the people in the greater Miami metro area. More importantly, Miami is a private school versus Florida and Florida State are big-time public schools. Texas, same thing. Got a whole bunch of problems there. Not everyone is unified. In Louisiana, even if you're like a die-hard Louisiana Tech grad who hates LSU, a Tulane grad, or a ULL person who just can't get over the fact that they hate LSU, guess what? 95% of the voters that you represent, even in your parishes, are all LSU fans. So let's say a few years from now there's another bill that helps amend the previous one because you're at a disadvantage in the state of Louisiana. And let's just say that bill has something that benefits LSU but doesn't necessarily benefit private school Tulane or any other of the smaller public schools like Tech or ULL or McNeese. Whatever. Guess what? If you vote against it, good luck getting reelected, because your voters are going to find out. The state of Louisiana has its benefits. They have to find them and get creative, and they have. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in the description link below.